haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
All right, we are
Oh,
streaming.
man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And you know, the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it. And I've had a much, I'm much more empowered to be myself now.
Well, I admire that.
Oh, no, it's cool. Dude, let me tell you, it took a long time.
I'm begging anybody out there, before you go and get surgery, before you walk into these hair clubs to someplace, I'm telling you right now, I am $20,000 in the hole, and 10 years of stress, the last 3, an absolutely horrifying existence of stress and pain. And I can promise you, the stress of this hairpiece is 1,000 times more than I would have ever felt if I had just been confident with who I am, dealt with the fact that these are the cards I've been dealt, and deal with them, and just shave my head. And honestly, like Spencer said, not everyone's there, but that's where I'm at.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality?
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727, live from Los Angeles, like the man said. You're listening to the Hair Loss Show, which is wild that we're still on the fucking air after 20 years. This is our 20th anniversary doing this broadcast. Started on terrestrial radio, of course, on WABC in New York City, then nationally syndicated. Then I moved to Los Angeles about, I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3 years into the broadcast. And Joe, by the way, you type so loud. It's unbelievable. You got to turn your mic down.
These monster hands of mine.
I'm just, trying to do my opening here for crying out loud. And moved out here to Los Angeles. Did the show from Westwood One Radio for a while. And here's the good news. I have been essentially an independent broadcaster since almost day one. As soon as I realized that, and I think I realized this early, that radio really valued very little talent, or really didn't see the big picture when it came to a lot of programming and talent that they work with over the years. And when I realized that I was getting paid $500 per broadcast, and they wanted to sell every single, bit of airtime to guys and companies who we could never recommend here at The Bald Truth, I decided to say, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And there was. And it's called brokering time. So essentially, I've been doing what people are trying to do now on the internet, but with the use of big station call letters, transmitters, well-known, recognized talents, ratings. I got to pot you down, dude. This is fucking ridiculous. And essentially been doing an independent broadcast for 20 years. I just happened to have done it on the radio for about 14 years. And now we are, thankfully, and I have to thank all of my listeners and all of my viewers, we are one of the most watched, we actually are the most watched call-in talk show on the internet, live call-in talk show on the internet, and one of the most downloaded live call-in talk shows on the internet. And I want to thank you. And you know what? We talk about hair loss. That's the craziest thing. Listen, 2/3 of you by the age of 35 are going to be dealing with hair loss. 40% of women by the age of, whatever. It really depends, but they're starting younger and younger now. I see girls who are 17, 18, 19 years old because they started using birth control at a young age who are dealing with androgenetic alopecia. So 40% of hair loss sufferers are women in this country. It is a silent epidemic of biblical proportions. So when you talk about demographics, I remember in radio when people would be like, well, what's your demo? How about all of humanity? How's that for a demographic? The vast majority of people and households in this world have at least one person in it who's dealing with hair loss. So yeah, hair loss show, been doing this for 20 years. Now I have a relatively new sidekick. Not that new, actually. He's been around for a long time. And he's known as the original hair transplant mentor. He is a guy who has been dealing with hair loss for most of his life. And frankly, he's a guy who has been through the mill, has been in the trenches, who has had 9 hair transplants, and is someone who I consider to be a real expert in the field. His name is Joe Tillman. Joe, welcome.
How are you doing?
Man? Yeah, I knew it was going to be something like that.
Well, that kind of lead in. How can I not, right? I mean, I got to live up to a little bit.
I hear you. I tried to change my camera angle a little bit. I brought the camera really in and pulled it back to see if it would be any sharper. It seems to be recording a little sharper, but I don't know if it relates to the stream or if it makes a difference.
It looks on the Skype feed, it does look like it's a bit sharper, which is a great indicator for on YouTube. It does look sharper.
You know what it is? It's distance and light, man. This is a dark. Yeah. It's a dark room. So
just like hair transplant photos.
Oh yeah, 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Look, we got some calls on the line. We can bullshit and vamp a little bit and talk about some stuff that's happening in the field, but let's get right to the phones, and then we'll do that. How do you feel about that, Joe?
I think that's a winner. Let's do it.
All right, let's see who this is. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is former intern John Naughty. How are you?
Intern John, man, how are you?
Hello, John.
Great.
What's going on?
I am sitting in rush hour traffic, and I had to call in. I know that Dino had talked about me calling in, and you and I had talked about it, so I'm happy to be here.
Gary and Dino from the Gary and Dino Show were talking about the bald truth and on their last podcast. And if you guys don't know, both Gary and Dino are. Gary has been the producer of the Tom Leykis Show, and for those of you on the East Coast who don't know who Tom Leykis is, look him up. For well over 20 years. And Dean has been the associate producer / call screener of the show. And he was my producer at Westwood One Radio for a while. Essentially, I got to Westwood One and started using their studios. They hooked me up with Dean, and I couldn't get rid of him. And that's how it worked out. But John was one of our first interns at Westwood One. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, I was interning with Tom Leykis, and Dean asked if I wanted to intern with your show. So when I got off of my weekend job on Sunday nights, I would come on over. And if I'm not mistaken, weren't you doing the show out of the same studio where Casey Kasem did the Top 10?
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Right.
I mean, it was a really historic building. It was a really, really good time. So I would come on over, and I was just, I was my first year of law school, and I was just learning about radio broadcasting, and I was lucky to be there. But yeah, when I first moved to LA, Dean was like my older brother. I mean, he really looked after me, and was a really, really good guy. I mean, all joking aside, yeah, he really took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. And
well, he's listen. He's still a great guy, and I always liked Dean.
Absolutely.
But the story.
I didn't mean to use past tense.
No, but as the story goes,
may he rest in peace.
Look, I mean, Gary, and actually, I should play that on the air. I could find it, but Gary and Dean were talking about the program on their program last week. And Dean just happened to bring up the fact that, yeah, he worked for me for 3 years until I fired him. And then Gary brought up the story, which you may or may not know, John, that, I chose to do it in probably a pretty unorthodox way. I called a big meeting, and it was actually Tom Leykis' office and Gary's office. And Dean had pissed me off about something. There were some things happening. I had to make a decision right there and then. And I guess what they weren't used to is, I may be the guy behind the mic, but I was also running a business. So when you fuck with my dollars, then I've got to make a decision whether we're friends or not. And I made the decision to fire Dean on the spot and offer Gary his job in front of Dean, which in retrospect may have been a little cold, but it certainly sent a message.
Yeah, I actually never heard that story.
Yeah, it certainly sent a message, and but no, I did years later, 15 years later, I apologized for maybe not being as diplomatic about it as I could have, and embarrassing him in front of his friend Gary. But you know, I had to control that fucking room, man. I brought everybody in, and I just had to know that this is for real. I know that you guys are coming on a Sunday. You weren't there because you were interning, and I know that it seems it's fun. You're at this great radio station, whatever it is. I'm still running a business, and you know we got to run a tight ship. So Dean still has never. He's very passive aggressive about it. He's really never forgiven me.
He's never mentioned a word to it to me, honestly.
No, I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah.
So what's going on? So now you are this big shot fucking attorney here in Los Angeles.
I'm doing my best. Yeah, I'm really gotten involved with using my legal abilities for social justice. I love going after insurance companies and companies that like to try and bully people around. It's a lot of fun. So I represent people from people who've been, you know, dealing with an injury to people that we've all seen on TV who are owed royalties.
Right.
Who've just the area I like to call it is people who've been wrong. You know, some people say, well, do you do criminal? Do you do real estate? No, I do people who've been wronged. I take cases that are clear winners. And then, you know, I can go to bat for people if it's a clear winner. So I do my best. You know, I like the process. And I opened my own firm about a year ago. I was with a boutique firm in Century City, and you know, I started my own podcast on the side that just got featured in this issue of Attorney Law Magazine LA.
I know you sent me the link to pimp it out, man. So talk about it.
Yeah, I am the only lawyer that I know of in the United States. I have a completely mobile podcast. I have power, internet, a full studio with 2 camera shots, and I go on location, whether it's for the Poor People's Campaign, whether it's for, you know, #MeToo rallies at Hollywood and Highland. I like to be at ground zero, and I like to talk to people that are really involved in the situation. It's just really going deeper than the headlines is really what it's about. And I've been able to make a lot of great connections. You know, when I'm out, people have questions. You know, they want my business card. It's been really good for making connections and getting out there and just really proving that, you know, not every lawyer's a schmuck.
Right.
You know, that there are.
How come you haven't taught Gary and Dean how to do that stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually supported the Gary and Dino show.
I know you do. You're an advertiser.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're good guys. They've been my friends in real life now for such a long time.
I have never met 2 guys, and guys, hold on, who are calling about hair loss. It's 888-659-3727.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
I've never met 2 guys who are so, I don't know, just, I don't want to say against making money, but who just have the inability, or they just seem like they just don't want to make a dime. I've given them opportunities. I've told them what to do. I've tried to guide them in the right direction. And they're still sticking with this same old radio model that really never really worked in radio once the cat was let out of the bag. And people realized, wait a second, all these numbers are fake. All these advertisers are spending millions of dollars on bullshit numbers. And it's a really old model that, you know, I mean, they have the entire internet to make money from. I don't get it. You know,
what I really like about their audience in particular is the amount of loyalty they have.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
I mean, these people will travel. Like, people fly literally from Australia to come to a listener party. I'm not making this up. They'll go all the way out to Salton Sea in the middle of the desert. They'll go to Vegas. I mean, the people that love the show really love the show.
Listen, I think that's incredible, you know, and that's why I know that they could actually be very successful doing what they do. I actually feel bad that Lycus is about to close up shop because I enjoy listening to the broadcast.
Absolutely.
You know?
He's one of the best there ever was, in my opinion.
100%, man. And, you know, I may end up going to their party, and if Tom is there, I'd be more than happy to talk to him. But I don't think that has to happen. I think that he can continue to stay on the air. But listen, we're gonna take some calls from hair loss sufferers. Now, do you have any questions about hair loss? I mean, were you interested in hair loss when you were actually on interning for the show, or were you just doing it for credit?
I actually wasn't even getting credit because law school. I mean, my law school wasn't going to give me credit for hanging out at a radio station.
Right.
No, I've always liked broadcasting. So I mean, I was fascinated. The best part of my day was leaving class and going to the radio station.
Yeah.
Whether it was to hang out on your show or like as a show, I love it, and I think it's really great what you're doing because I mean I know people. I mean, my college roommate went through hair loss. 18 years old, and he was already halfway there. I think what's the term, Norwood 7? I mean, he was halfway to a Norwood 7.
Right.
I've been listening to this, hoping that somewhere there would be some sort of reference to you taking on. You're talking about these grassroots causes, which is fantastic. I was waiting for the segue into how you're taking on hair transplant patient cases. That'd be fantastic.
It actually would be. Because there's so many guys who are unhappy, and the problem is they run into I guess hair transplantation is considered to be it's subjective as far as like what went wrong, the issues involved. But the truth is it's not as subjective as you think. Right. And if you understand the nuances and you have the inside track, John, I can guarantee you have a lot of clients.
Make a huge name for yourself just in that industry.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe we should talk off the air.
Absolutely. His wheels are turning.
There we go.
He's all business, this guy.
You want to talk about a popular podcast? Man, take your double cameras down to a hair transplant clinic when you're confronting someone about a bad case. That is gold.
Yeah, that's actually.
So I'm just going to sit outside of Bosley on Wilshire Boulevard and hold a rally.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, actually, here's the sad part. You remember the show when Bosley were the bad guys. They're not the bad guys anymore.
They're not.
The industry has evolved to a point where they're actually some of the better guys now. That's how sad things have gotten. It is.
Now, is Propecia still a popular item?
It's popular as far as, it's really one of the only drugs that still works. But there's a lot of stuff online about, long-term adverse side effects. And, things have been, the online world has evolved to the point where obviously everyone has a voice. Everyone will advocate against or for something. And the loudest, voices and the biggest mob wins. Sadly, a handful of guys have had some bad adverse side effects from the drug, like with any other drug. And the general theme is, Propecia is dangerous. It's bad. It's something that should not be taken by a young person. And these guys are shit scared to take it. When we all know, actually, our friend Dean said it on the air the other day. He's got a full head of hair because he kind of listened to the show and took my advice. So I
remember way back when he was seeking like that first line of defense.
Absolutely. And it's changed my life, and that's why I'm behind this mic. And it's kind of interesting to see how things evolve and how much power the internet and internet mobs actually have when it comes to decision making, whether it's reality or whether it's just some sort of cause that's being pushed by guys who may have some psychosomatic issues. Who knows? But you're in that world to some degree. You must deal as far as what you're dealing with in your law practice. You have to obviously deal with a lot of stuff that's online.
Deal with a lot of stuff that's online, and it's interesting. People like to think that a simple Google search will replace years of experience and having passed the bar exam and things like that. And I assume the same thing with you is that all of your years of experience and learning and keeping pace with the industry, and someone can just do a simple Google search, see the wrong information, and think that they're right, even though you're the one who is in the trenches.
Oh, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? That's exactly what's happening, Joe. You can tell them.
I was going to say that's why we're in the position that we're in now, where the industry is actually devolved to where it's worse today than it was 10, 12 years ago, because people can, you know how it is, especially in your field. If someone wants to find something to back up their position, they'll find it, whether it's right or wrong. it doesn't matter because there's so many different angles for or descriptions on how to deal with the same problem, some being complete polar opposites, right? So the way that the information's spread out now about our industry is that it's surgery is easy, that it's even the doctors are being kind of sucked into this because they're being told by some of the device manufacturers that it's such an easy procedure to add as an adjunct to their existing practice. And
look, John, I was contacted by a friend of yours, I remember, and I don't think I was able to get back to them, or I didn't get back to them. But asking who the best FUE doctors were. Now, they didn't ask who the best hair transplant surgeon in Los Angeles was. They specifically asked who the best FUE hair transplant surgeon was, and that's really indicative of kind of the trend and how the market is going. And really, every consumer who's considering hair transplant surgery may not be a great candidate for FUE. They may do better with a hybrid procedure of an FUT, a strip procedure, and an FUE, really depending on their particular case, their hair characteristics, what their goals are, their understanding of what their future is going to hold as far as if they actually have a plan to really cut their hair down very short. But because FUE has been promoted the way in which it has, as though it's state-of-the-art, as though it's a new procedure, as though it's scarless, as though it's minimally invasive in comparison to strip surgery, guys will opt to have, in some cases, a lesser procedure. Not saying that it's that way in all cases, just because they've been sold this bill of goods online. And I was the guy that actually introduced FUE to the U.S., so I'm the biggest proponent of FUE that there is. But
so you like the procedure?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's a good procedure. I mean, it's a necessary procedure. It provides it provides options that hair transplant patients never had before, and that was the reason why I pushed so hard for it to be out there through the mainstream and for physicians to really accept it. Now, I don't know if my phone's dropped off or because everyone seems to drop off. Hold on. Okay. John, if you want to call back, call back. But, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, yes, I like the procedure. And I think that's interesting that he asked because maybe he's thinking about himself. I don't know. But, yeah, it's obviously I like the procedure. It is part of a really good surgeon's repertoire. But if someone is just offering FUE and doesn't have the infrastructure to provide or has not offered FUT in the past, or at least have the understanding that not all patients are candidates for FUE surgery and that if they don't offer FUE in their practice, that they should at the very least provide a good referral to someone who does do good FUT, then there lies the problem. When people, what's the adage? If you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Essentially, these guys end up spending $80,000 to $250,000 on a single device. That's their investment, and they don't understand that you need different techniques in your toolbox to really provide patients with the best possible outcomes. So let me see if this is actually John. Hey, man.
Hey, sorry, the call dropped. I called back.
That's okay. I'm glad you called back. And I think for some reason it could be my internet or something because every call drops. So guys, call back 888-659-3727. So yeah, to answer your question, like the procedure, great procedure, but not all FUE is created equal, and not all patients are candidates for just having an FUE as opposed to having a hybrid procedure of an FUE and FUT. It really depends on their level of hair loss and many other things. So for everyone who believes that now we're in the future, we've reached the logical endpoint with hair transplant surgery, that's not what FUE is. FUE is a great option for those who make good candidates for it.
Well, sounds good. Thanks.
You got it, man. You got it. Well, listen, I'll let you go. I want to thank you for calling in. I don't know if you're going to be at, I don't want to even say where because I don't want anybody following me there. But if you're going to be at that anniversary party, I may see you there.
I am going to do my best. I'm planning on being there.
All right, man. No hair talk when we're there, okay?
Absolutely not. No, I'm good right now. I'm lucky, so fingers crossed.
Dude, I saw your picture. You look fantastic. And actually, I saw you a couple of years ago at the studio, at Garandino studio, at the Leica studio, and you look fucking great, man.
Well, thanks. Just, trying to go to the gym when I can and drink enough water.
Yeah. Well, it's working, man. Listen, I appreciate the call. Good talking to you, and I will let Dino know that you called.
All right, thanks for having me.
Right.
I'm sure he'll go grab the clip. And this is going to end up on the Garandino show, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'll cut up some good parts and make sure that he gets something interesting, like when you called him a dick.
Sounds good.
All right.
Have a great show.
All right, take care, man. All right.
Take it easy. Bye.
888-659-3727 is a toll-free number. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is David Dennison. I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
David
Hello,
Dennison
David.
from Washington, D.C. How are you, man? We got your whole last name. Now we're fucking Googling you. What's going on?
Oh, my God. Look what I just found.
Yeah, I actually called in about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay. What was your story?
My story was I was thinking about going back on Propecia, but I felt I had low T, so I wanted to.
Oh, that's right. I
run
remember
some
you.
tests.
Yeah.
Right.
So I actually went ahead and ran some tests, and I got the test results back. And I actually do have low T. I'm around the 200 levels right now. I guess that would be considered hypogonadal.
Okay.
What I decided is that, fuck it, I'm just going to shave my head and go on testosterone.
You know what, dude? Good for you, man.
Good, yeah, absolutely.
That is a good move because you will be fucking bald and jacked. And you could be
bald and taking T
for.
therapy. Yeah.
Now, are you Caucasian or are you a dark-skinned individual?
I'm in the middle, like a golden brown.
All right, dude. Get a little tan, a little bit more golden, and I mean then you are golden because you're not going to need your hair.
Get some sort of tribal over your shoulder and a half sleeve, and you're the Rock.
Yeah, that's it.
Let me tell you something. I was using Propecia the last couple of years, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. When I used Propecia, I had movement. I'm not going to lie, but at the end of the day, it comes down to priorities. If I had $1 million in the bank, and I could get anything I want, I would get a hair transplant. I'm not at that point where I want to go through this fucking headache because people that want to get involved in this, they got to be ready to battle their whole life. If you're not ready to battle your whole life, you better tap out sooner rather than later, going midway through the process.
Well, it's interesting that you say that.
Well said.
Yeah, because a lot of people just, they're too ill-equipped for the battle. They don't realize what the battle and what it entails, and how much effort emotionally and financially. And people think they're one and done or even two and done. That is usually not the case, man. They have to be prepared for the long haul. It's like marriage. That's it. Most people are not prepared when they jump into that arena. You know what I mean? So I think you're making the right decision.
I think it's fantastic.
I do have a question, though.
Okay.
Stay down the road. I wanted to get my hair back, but I understand this is progressive. I'm going to continue to lose my hair. I'm going to be a Norwood 7. I wanted to get somewhere where kind of Joe Tillman's at, but I didn't want to use Propecia or Rogaine. Do I have enough donor hair to get me to that point, or
No.
I just don't have enough donor hair?
Yeah, I would say I haven't seen what you look like, but based on Joe being an anomaly, I would say no.
I'll put it like this: Dr. Wong, when people would ask him whether I was president or not, it wouldn't matter. But people would say, "How were you able to get so much hair out of Joe over so many surgeries?" And his response was pretty much the standard: "Well, he's a mutant," because he'd take out a normal size strip, and my scalp would heal to the point where my laxity would return to close to normal levels, which is what allowed him to keep going in over and over again to getting as much hair as he got. And so when you look at the amount of hair that I've had moved without my first two procedures even in consideration, just a virgin scalp having 10,000 grafts, FUT or FUE, it doesn't matter, or even a combination, especially if you have potentially aggressive loss, Norwood 6 to Norwood 7, the odds are against you. I mean, I say no, you can't have, you can't get something similar to what I've had, only because when I tell you that, that's the safe answer, right? You may be an exception to the situation, but it's not a rule. I mean, it's not a standard thing where anyone that's got this level of hair loss that I've had and that you may be headed to, or you may be there now, I don't know, but it's not common to get that much hair moved over X number of surgeries.
He just wanted a yes or no, dude.
Well, he got it, and then some. And I'm adamant about that because I've had this question or this position presented to me countless times, and I can't say it enough. Don't count on getting 10,000 grafts. Just don't count on it.
Man, I wish you. Even if we paid Wong $150,000 that he usually charges.
Well, that's awesome. You're in my light category. Okay, I like that. But no. Even if you paid him $150,000, that was brilliant.
I figured I'll just get down the road. Listen, I want to be in shape. I need the energy. I need to get on T.
How old are you now?
Something I've been wanting to do. That's a priority. But
how old are you, by the way? I forgot.
I am 36.
Okay.
And the last 2 years, I went from running 5-10 miles a week to just having all the symptoms of low T. And then my test proved that. I went ahead and did the test.
Right.
I did it the right way. Ran a complete panel, and I'm suffering it for. So I'd rather have vitality than anything right now. I need that.
But here's the thing: a lot of guys who it's really difficult for them to make that choice because you probably look good enough where you think that you can probably end up being comfortable without your hair, and that's good because most guys, a lot of guys, aren't free enough to make that smart decision that you're making right now. You're making the important choice. You're choosing your health, your vitality, your quality of life, as opposed to they're choosing quality of life as well in their minds, but you're choosing to be able to function to your highest capacity as opposed to worrying more about the aesthetics, and that's great. A lot of guys aren't equipped. A lot of guys aren't lucky enough, or they're not equipped enough to make that choice.
And it takes time. I mean, it took me 2 years to come to this point, and I'm sure some guys it may take 10 years. Some guys it might take less, but it took me really 2 years to get to this point where I'm like, I'm not equipped for this battle.
Well, I am, and you're young, so it's good that you made this choice. Now I'm in my 50s. I'm going to be 53. I'm seeing changes, physical changes, strength changes. I'm still pretty strong, but I've recently lost some weight, and I lost some strength in the gym, and just it's harder to maintain muscle mass and things of that nature just based on age. I know that if I did what some of my neighbors have done, they look jacked. I mean, a little human growth hormone, some TRT, and I'd be fucking Sylvester Stallone, when he was in his late 30s. That's all I need. But am I willing to risk the possibility of an effluvium, of losing the hair that I saved? I am not. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait to do that testosterone replacement until maybe I really feel like I'm falling apart, like maybe when I'm 60.
Well, listen,
you got a timeline on it.
Yeah.
Can I do TRT and then, after a couple years, I'll just pay for a rock-in hairpiece? That's what I'm thinking I'm going to do.
Of course you can.
If it matters that much to me and I care that much a couple years down the road, I'll just be ripped and I'll just get the nicest hairpiece money could buy.
Dude, let me tell you something. Those are reasonable. See, you are a reasonable person. that makes sense. I mean, your thought process is extremely lucid, and you are accepting things that other guys would never accept. They would never accept, artificial hair. There's nothing more artificial in my mind than actually having surgery to move hair from one part of your head to another part of your head. That's an artificial process. That's a man-made process, and the risk of complications are great. Not saying that hair transplantation can't be life-saving and life-changing, because it is. And I'm all for hair transplants for the right candidate. But most guys your age would never even, they do think about pieces and they wear pieces, but they wouldn't openly talk about it or talk about the decision of saying, hey, why can't I just do that? They think it's just unnatural or something that is unacceptable socially. I love hearing somebody speak like this.
It is, I think that, I've talked about this many times. I think that not just hair transplants, but hair systems in general, or I guess it can be more classified as just addressing hair loss in any way. It is taboo. It is something that a lot of people have a hard time speaking about because they're supposed to have a hard time speaking about it. It's not normal in our society to talk openly about this, even outside of this program, right? So, and it's all because of the media. It's always the comic relief. Haha, look at the guy with the hairpiece, the wig, the plugs, whatever. What you're exhibiting here is, like Spencer said, an extremely lucid thought process. It's refreshing to hear this, where you've only taken 2 years to come to this decision. Some guys never can come to this decision. Some guys are trapped.
Think Joe from Staten Island.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, poor guy is paralyzed from life because he can't deal with. I mean, even with a ball cap, he can't go outside the house.
And that's the thing, and what you're saying is huge, and that's why I said, maybe I'll wait till I'm 60, because I actually don't have an issue with gluing hair on, or if I go through an effluvium, I would do that, and I talked about it, and I've tried it, and I consider, I have the ability to paint, where I have enough hair where the paint still works, so I do that, these are all incredible options that so many people are afraid to utilize. So the first thing they think of is, if they're afraid of using finasteride, they go right for surgery, and they don't think about what the downsides could be of surgery. They don't educate themselves enough. You've gone through the entire gamut, and you've made, again, not here to stroke you, but a really smart decision. If, in fact, you are clinically diagnosed with low testosterone, and if, in fact, you believe that this can help your life, the trade-off that you're making is huge, I think. I mean, it's only in your benefit, and you really have a good thinking process about it.
The funny thing about it is this process started about 2 years ago. And, I recently came out of this hole, but I was in a deep hole when this first started happening. What happened was I went out to a bar. 3 girls came sit next to me at a bar. We were flirting or whatever. I picked one of the particular girls, bought her a drink, started flirting. Her friend came up to me, came behind me. I don't know if she was jealous. You know how women are. She came up to me behind me, put her hands through my hair, and smirked and laughed and said, "Oh, he's spinning," in front of everybody at the bar.
Yeah,
and
what a fucking bitch.
My initial, I'm used to this kind of, I'm used to women testing you, stuff like that. Because, at that time I was going out a lot. I said, "Oh, don't worry about those hairs. They're just on vacation. They'll be right back." It's kind of, just brushed it off. Just brushed it off, kept going, I ended up getting the girl's number, nothing like that. But afterwards, like a week or two later, I was like, damn, that kind of hurt.
Of course.
And it's such a double standard. I mean, what if I went up to her and just grabbed her ass and like, you're kind of a little chubby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a double standard when it comes to guys talking about hair pieces, yet,
forget about the fact that you'd be arrested for sexual assault. I mean, besides that, I think
exactly.
Or not even.
I think a better way to approach it would be to
what
turn
about,
around and say, "Well, you're Krusty the Clown." It's like
not even touching her though. Just saying,
right.
Wow, look. Yeah, like go behind her while your buddy's talking to her and say, she's got a huge ass. You may want to walk away from this one.
Yeah,
imagine that.
It doesn't make sense. Listen, this is a new time. Women are smashing their, they're wearing makeup, they're wearing hair pieces, they're doing all this to make themselves look good. Guys should be able to wear hair. The hair pieces are not like 1950s. I've seen some nice.
Oh, there's some great ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen some and known some. I know some guys who wear ones that look like they're from the 1950s, but they don't have to. That's the point. So yeah, I mean, they can look completely natural. It really depends on the person's hair characteristics, the choices they make, and that includes being willing to look like you're balding. If you're willing to look like you're balding and have the hairpiece designed where it has a good amount of recession, maybe a thinning crown, thinning a little bit in the hairline, people just they can't even conceive of the fact that someone would buy that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is really where the power lies. I know this guy Kent Emmons, and I could talk about him publicly. He used to be the vice president of National Lampoon Radio, and he's been in this industry, not the hair industry, but entertainment industry for many years. And he needed hair for a specific role. Initially, he thought he can get a hair transplant and then be on camera 5 months later. I said, dude, that's not going to happen. So let me get you into a hairpiece. And he was really, apprehensive about it. I said, look, I'll tell you what you need. He was blonde. I said, we'll order it about 40% density. I know that sounds low. And when you see it, you're going to be able to see right through the base, through the hair. But I'm telling you, when it's on your head, no one's going to know it's a hairpiece. He got this thing, took it out of the box, called me up in a fucking panic. I said, just relax, dude. Just relax. Go to this place and get it cut in, and you are going to look like $1 million. And he put this thing on, got it cut in. It looked 100% natural. I mean, he looked like he had a full head of hair, slightly thinning. And he went out there and he told the world he was wearing a piece because he couldn't believe how good it can look. So he ended up getting a transplant later with Dr. Scott Alexander, actually 2 transplants, because that's what he wanted originally. But he was able to go on television and wear this piece, or switch them out for about 3 years. And it looked like he was a guy with a relatively full head of hair, but a guy in his mid-40s with slightly thinning hair. So it's 100% possible. These guys do not get it. Every bad piece you see on the internet, whether it's John Travolta's wearing hair, I'm not saying it's bad, but whatever's noticeable, it's because they're using too much hair and they are wearing it too low on their foreheads. It's poorly designed. And also, for some reason, a lot of these Hollywood guys, when they design these hair pieces, the direction of the frontal hairline is going backwards as opposed to the hair where it's supposed to, grow forwards. I don't understand that. And these guys get paid a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't understand how some of these people can do such a bad job for their clients. It's
it's funny. I should actually speak to some people because I should be like the hair consultant for these movie guys. That wouldn't be a bad gig.
It wouldn't be.
Let me write that shit down.
Absolutely.
Are you guys ever going to do anything on hair pieces? Any kind of YouTube videos or anything like that?
I'm trying to get Joe to actually shave his hair and put a hairpiece on with his drone.
With my drone. Not happening.
Actually, we could do some. There are some pretty some very open guys online who may want to reach out to Joe.
I wouldn't mind doing that. That would be pretty cool. It's funny you mentioned that though. I got a box in today for my next video, or not my next video, but another comparison video. and I'm going to be doing an unboxing, and yeah, so it'll be kind of interesting. Funny you mentioned that.
Oh, and by the way, I am going to set up, because I have set up the studio a little differently. Maybe by next week or the week after, I will put some sort of a stick back there with a camera hanging over it, over the back of my head. And I will have the bald cam for all of you motherfuckers who are forcing me to show my bald spot. But I'll do it. But listen, man, I'm really happy. I'm not happy that you have low T, but I'm glad that you made what I consider to be a very logical and just a very healthy decision.
Yeah,
for yourself.
Absolutely, 100%.
I appreciate it because, at this point in my life, emotionally, I know two things. I cannot deal with a fucked up hair transplant. That would crush me. And I couldn't deal with taking Propecia, something happening, and, I couldn't deal with that in my life right now. And I can deal, I'm looking at the positive side. I want to get my T's up. I have my priorities, and spending $20,000 or whatever the amount might be on hair transplant or going through this journey, it's just not something I want to emotionally invest in.
Well, I actually tell people all the time where I think if you are emotionally equipped to deal with the possibility of the downside of a hair transplant, if you have the money, if you are a good candidate, it could be an incredibly life-changing procedure. However, that same $20,000 or $25,000 could be spent on fixing your teeth, doing whatever you need to do to, eat well and train your body. If people wanted to get, say they don't want to shave their head because their ears are sticking out or whatever it is, they can get, relatively inexpensive cosmetic surgery compared to hair transplantation to fix some of those other issues. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of different options to get yourself to be comfortable in your own skin. It's not just all about the hair. So I think you made a really good decision. And listen, in 5 years, you may be like, look, I want to get a piece. Dude, if I'm still doing this in 5 years, shoot me. But if we are here, you can call us and we'll guide you in the right direction.
Well, in 5 to 10 years, I'm sure there'll be a cure out. So I'm just going to wait another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Let us know when it comes out.
Yeah, you let us know. All right, dude. Listen, congratulations. You sound like a really together guy. And, send Joe your before and after pics of your bodybuilding journey because he likes to see those,
I'm sure he does.
He wants his personal collection.
Hey, just because you sit on the web for 5 hours a day looking at stuff doesn't mean I do.
No, I just look at myself, dude. All right, man. Listen, you take care. Thanks for the call.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Right on. Thanks for calling.
You too. Bye.
888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. And yeah, I mean, we were mentioned on the Gary and Dino show this week. I don't have it all set up. I was actually going to take the clip from the program, and I guess the fastest way for me to do that would be to hook up my laptop to one of my channels during a commercial break and see if I can make that happen. But it was interesting because it was the first time that I've ever actually heard Dino J. D'Amelio, admit that he was losing his hair on the air, and that it was because of Spencer Kobren that he has a full head of hair, and he's like 47 years old now.
Wow.
Not to mention he talked about the whole firing, and he's a little bitter.
Yeah.
He's very passive aggressive about the whole thing.
Yeah.
John wasn't really privy to it because he was an intern. He wasn't really privy to all the stuff that was going on. I can't believe he's an attorney now. That's how old I am. But yeah, I mean, I was in the same studio as Casey Kasem. I was in the same studio as, Journey and Van Halen. And I mean, the history of the old Westwood One, especially my studio, because I was actually in a studio that was big enough to hold bands.
And that's when, what's his name? Sammy Hagar did the...
That's when Sammy Hagar came in and did my...
soundbite.
My ID, and Gary Coleman came in. And I actually have a whole bunch of them in my 360. I got to find them. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Spencer and Joe, how you doing?
All right.
We're good.
How are you?
Who do you think this is?
Oh shit. I don't know.
Johnny Ohio.
Johnny, Ohio. Dude, you
Holy
sound so
smokes.
different. What's going on? How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
All right. Maybe it's the
Good
phone.
listening.
Maybe it's your phone. You don't.
What's the new? I'm on a cell phone. So
Okay. All right.
Right on. How you been, man?
Dude, how you been? What's going on?
good. Well, not much. I just tuning in, listen to the show. I got to give your last caller a lot of guts, man. He's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Fucking
Don't
A
make
is
the mistake
doing the
I
right
made.
thing. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I honestly do sometimes wish, because I am having more trouble. I mean, I'm able to maintain pretty well, but I know how jacked I would be just training 3 days a week if I went on like HGH.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell that gentleman was talking about low T. I've got the low T myself, being 54, so I know what he's going through. You know, we start getting in our 50s. Well, you know, he's awful young at 36, so I don't know if I would. Maybe he could change his diet or something. Maybe to, you know, maybe kick in some of his growth hormones. But 36 is awful young to be getting on it.
Well, I will say this, and while you're just reminding me, if you're still listening, Guy, our buddy Andrew Zarian, who is like 32, apparently had low T as well. I think his low T came from something else, which we're not going to talk about on the air. But he is on Propecia, and he was taking TRT replacement. He came out to Calabasas, and he took off his shirt at the pool, and I was just like, dude, you're really getting close to looking like me. You better stop. No, he looked incredible. The guy was jacked, you know. So
Really?
this stuff, and he was like just on a very small dose of this stuff that you rub on. So, I mean, that stuff fucking works, man. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he needed it, whatever it is, but if you're looking to get in the best shape and really make it easier for yourself to get into that shape, man, that stuff is like a miracle. I don't know what's going to happen long term. It's like
Right.
basically you're taking steroids.
That's the biggest fear I had, because I was taking some of it. You know, the cream you put on. It's expensive. I mean, you know, a lot of insurance companies won't pay for it.
Right.
So, and that's one of the things, the drawbacks too. And then once you take it, you're stuck on it.
Well, what happens is once you start to take it on a regular basis, your body stops to synthesize or manufacture its own testosterone to normal levels. Now, if you're on it for short periods of time, you'll rebound, you'll be okay. But if you're on it for years, eventually you're basically stuck taking it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. The body stops producing as much.
Yeah, like
testosterone.
like you could, like kids who are in high school and they play around with steroids and they do like 2, 3, 5 cycles, whatever it is, they're going to go back to normal eventually. But it's when they are on it for years and years and years, and they put like a Lyle Alzado or allegedly an Arnold, you know, like all kinds of shit could happen.
You had me laughing my ass off, Spencer, when you talked about the bald cam. You had me. I was rolling.
Dude, I'm gonna do it. I've been called out. I get from everybody's is either I get he's never lost a hair in his life and he's just a profiteer, you know, trying to profit off the suffering of hair loss, the torment of hair loss sufferers, or I'm wearing a wig, or I've had a hair transplant. What is it, guys? You let me fucking know. So
I'd like to know, because I've seen it, and apparently others know better than I do.
Yeah, but the thing is, these guys asked me. They called me out. They're like, "Look, we want to see your bald spot unpainted." You know what? Go fuck yourselves first of all. But I'll do it. I'll do it. I don't mind doing that. There's no shame. It's like I've been talking about it all. I've been talking about it for 20 years.
Yeah.
You made a living out of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Damn good living. No, but when I was in the other room, I had the tablet on. I've got it on speaker, and I was picking up some clothes, and I just dropped and started laughing my ass off. You know, you motherfuckers out there. Oh, I needed that, man. I really did.
See, so Johnny, where you been? You know, Joe dropped off the face of the earth, so I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
Well,
are you still in touch with him?
man.
Yeah, we're talking. Your iPhones. First of all, I have an iPhone. They suck to talk on. Do you have like a headset that you can use with it?
Yeah, not at the moment, but I do have.
Okay, well, actually, when you're speaking into the into the microphone, it sounds better, so it's fine.
Well, I've got the one of those unbreakable covers on it, and that muffles the sound too.
Okay. Well, right now it sounds good.
Okay, well, that was my fault. I had it away from me. Joe, you're looking good, buddy. You are the rock star of hair transplants.
Thank you very much.
That's outstanding.
Thank you.
I just wanted to call into you guys and say hi and keep up the good work. And I try to tune in as much as I can. Don't get the calls often, but I like to listen.
Well, I'm glad that you are. And just so you know, the busy chat is on Joe Tillman's YouTube page, which I always forget what it is. Joe Tillman or Hair Transplant Mentor. What is it?
Right.
It's youtube.com/hair transplant mentor.
Yeah. So if you want to chat with some guys, you can go in there.
Maybe I'll do that. You fellas take care, and I'll see you down the road.
All right, Johnny, Ohio. Great to hear from you. I'm
in.
glad you're still around, still listening. And I wonder if Joe's listening. Joe, if you are listening, call in. We'd all love to hear from you.
Take care. I hope you call in there, Joe from Staten Island. I haven't heard from you in a while.
All right, Johnny. You take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
888-659-3727. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello.
Hey, guys. It's Warren from Hawaii, your favorite policeman.
Warren from Hawaii. Welcome. Don't want to fuck with you. I'm gonna have like a jacket in Hawaii. You know, don't want that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. That guy was talking about. I'm on TRT myself, and I was shaving my head, and I'm pretty jacked myself too. That's a great way to go. That's the best thing you can do. But I wanted to call in and just let you guys know how funny it is. Remember, I told you guys about how I made my decision not to have another one, and I'm just gonna paint that bald spot, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many guys and friends and family that I know come up to me now that I just leave it alone or whatever. I only paint it sometimes or whatnot. And they'll go, I thought you had a hair transplant, man. And I was like, yeah, I did. And they're like, well, what's up with that bald spot? And I'm like, you guys, they can't take like all the hair I have. And I was trying to explain it. It's like, it's driving me nuts. It's like these people are so ignorant, you know?
Well, that's why the industry is able to do what it does. It's based on that ignorance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't blame them for it. Just people think, you know,
That's
a hair
true.
transplant is going from having no hair to having a full head of hair. They have no fucking clue.
A lot of people still think. I still get this question when I meet strangers and you know the subject of hair comes up. People still ask, well, who supplies the hair? As if it's person to person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't blame them. They have no sense of understanding whatsoever. They have to dive into it a little bit to get an understanding.
It only upsets me when a doctor asks me that question.
Yeah.
So.
Oh boy. Yeah, and then I got a bunch of guys like just spamming me that I know that I talk to here and there, even on the forum, telling me, "Why don't you just go to Turkey, man, and just cover that bald spot?" I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna chance going to Turkey. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even find one Turkey guy on your guys' recommended thing. I wouldn't even try that. You know?
Look, I actually have 3 Turkish guys on my recommended on the American Hair Loss Association and the IHRS, but I just want you to know that there is not a day that goes by, and this is not hyperbole, where I don't get at least one application from a clinic in Turkey. Usually it's 2 or 3.
Oh yeah.
I would say sometimes we can get 12 in a week. I have shown Joe.
Yeah.
It is just non-stop applications. These guys have cash in hand, willing to pay me $2,000 a pop every month just to be part of the organization, just to do what, you know, be a part of what we're doing. And on my deathbed, I'm probably going to regret this, but I have to turn away these guys' money. You know, and it kills me every time. If I add it up, it's just like, this is insane. I should just start a Turkish hair transplant list. Here's all the doctors in Turkey. Come on board. Bingo. But, you know,
Oh, yeah.
Joe and I have been talking a lot about what's happening in Turkey, and we talk about it in the program, and it's very frightening. I feel bad for the really good surgeons in Turkey because they are fighting in an environment that is, it's dangerous. It's not great for their practices because they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
And they're competing against mills that don't give a shit, and everyone's thinking that it's all the same.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Warren. Are you said you're getting spammed on? I don't think you said where, but these people that are contacting you out of nowhere, are they providing a link?
Oh,
and say,
these
just
are
go here.
No, they're just throwing out some doctors' names. No links being provided. I think they're just honestly trying to give good suggestions. No bad intentions. I think it's just kind of quite an overwhelming response. But go to Turkey, it's cheaper. Do $3,000, blah blah blah, that kind of thing.
Right. Is there any sort of contact information they send to you, like a WhatsApp phone number or something?
Only one time, I believe I got one from Dr. Kaza something. I think he might have been on your website a while ago. Kaza Nir or Emir Kaza something. Otherwise,
so hang on. So you were contacted without initiating any sort of effort on your side. You were contacted by someone, like in a private message system or on a forum or something, or through email, like how?
Oh no, it was just on one of those hair loss talk forums where I was talking about using concealers on bald spots,
Okay.
And then they just they brought up just go to Turkey and just fix it. Why don't you just fix it, brother? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about people, perfect strangers that say, "Why don't you just fix it, brother?" I'll tell you what's going on with that. I'm actually digging into. I know the Turkish market quite well because I've been there twice. I have worked with a Turkish clinic in the past, and I did my undercover deal where I went into another clinic and had a consultation with a camera rolling. Okay. And I've done a lot of research on this, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me, patients and people doing their own research. And I'm learning now that, I knew this to begin with, but I'm actually gathering like solid evidence that these people that are contacting you out of nowhere that are anonymous, or they might have some sort of handle on some website where they are known, or maybe even on YouTube, they're getting kickbacks for every referral they send to their clinic. I've actually seen emails where someone had asked point blank, if I do XYZ, do I get referrals, or is there some sort of referral program that we can be set up on so I can get commission? And not only did they say yes, they had a complete outline of how it's done, sent back to the person that was asking. Yeah. So it's dirty as hell.
It's a huge problem. That's one reason why, even though we're criticized for running a moderated site, that we just don't.
No, I'm glad you guys do that.
We just don't allow that to happen. Obviously there's no PMing system, so it can't happen through private message. But as importantly, I think, we have our moderators making sure that if someone is talking about something online that, like a question like yours, that somebody out of nowhere can't just say, go to Dr. So-and-so in Turkey, whether they give a WhatsApp contact or not. That's just taken right off. It's part of our, if you go to our TOS, we put something in there about guerrilla marketing, and that is not allowed on our website. Now, it affects traffic. So most website owners don't want to, they claim that they are against moderation. That's all about freedom of speech. But the reality is it's all about traffic and eyeballs. And the more traffic they can show, the more they can sell to advertisers. Period. Everything else you read, everything else that's spoken about, as far as why certain people run forums the way they run them, in my view, and the reality, I think Joe would agree, is complete bullshit, because it's all about the dollars and cents. So moderating, keeping things tightly moderated, is not good for money.
Right.
That's the way that it works. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and Joe was able to explain how things work, because that's exactly what happened to you. You were beyond. You were spammed. You were actually being openly sold to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing that's scary is it does start to affect you psychologically. Like, guys don't have willpower, strong willpower, or whatnot. You know, there's certain days where I tell my wife, "Shit, should I go to Turkey, honey?" You know what I'm saying? Like out of the blue, when I made up my mind, and I'm not going to do it, but it's just how you get that thought in your head. It affects you, you know. So it's like,
when the seed's planted, it's hard to hard to get away from it. I understand, but even when these guys are talking to you out in the open on a, you know, without like a PM system or email, when they're talking in a thread on a forum, and you wind up going to a clinic and you publicly mention it, then all that guy has to do is contact that clinic and say, "Hey, yeah, see that guy? It's because look, here's the thread. I sent him to you," and they get their money.
They get the credit.
Yeah.
Look, I get it.
Man, that's wild.
Someone says someone says something like, you know, Kobren's teeth are really white or too white, whatever it is. You know what I did today? I whitened my teeth again. Fuck them. You know? I mean, you got to feel comfortable in your own skin. You got to do what you got to do. You made the right decision for yourself. But sadly, what Joe is telling you is it's a little known secret in the field, and especially the Turks, they're becoming more and more aggressive at this type of guerrilla marketing on the message forums. And again, in a way, I can't blame the forum owners, because that's their bread and butter, and this is how they make money. The only thing that bothers me is that a lot of people will come out publicly, forum owners, and make claims that they're doing things a certain way for a certain reason, instead of just saying, "Hey, look, this is how we make our fucking money, and this is why the forum is run the way that it's run."
Hey, Warren, do you have a window open or something in your car?
Oh wait, yeah, I'm in a parking lot. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Are you in a cop car?
No. I took the family out shopping while I did a quick workout.
Okay, because I don't want you calling on the government's dime, you know.
I was gonna say you got a perp sitting in the back.
Yeah, there's a perp sitting in the back.
No, none of that.
That'd be great.
Only if he was bald. And I have him call. Yeah.
Well, look, man.
But thanks, guys. I just wanted to bring it up and let you guys know.
No, listen, we're I'm glad that you called, and you know, I guess the worst case scenario is if you feel uncomfortable at any time, just put a little makeup on. Big deal. You know?
Yeah, that's what I did today. I put Topic on, worked out in the gym. Nobody knows damn better or worse. Looks good.
Right, and you look good.
You know?
And you get to use TRT, man. So good for you. You win.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. You take
Absolutely.
care. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye now.
You too. Bye-bye.
888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I got to take a piss, but all right, I'll take a call, and then we'll take a break.
Let's do it.
Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Is it me?
Who's it?
It is you.
It's Dante, then.
Holy shit.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Dante, what's happening?
How you guys doing?
Good. How about yourself? What's new?
We're doing well.
Good, thanks. Well, I'm calling because I was listening, and the caller talking about low T and shaving his head, maybe a hairpiece down the road. So I just wanted to bring some information into. You know, I have this partial piece in the back. So, you know, my thing is that as you get, you know, as you guys know, as you get older, you're going to lose more hair, even if you have hair transplants. And, you know, the first call even was talking about, you know, there's a life never-ending battle, which we know it is. And I've been battling for, you know, 25 years now with this, and I'm still not ready to give up. But, you know, if you can, you know, if you really have to have a hair transplant, right, and you know, you can get your hairline, maybe, you know, your hairline, you know, to come out pretty good and a few inches back. You can go from there, like I did, get a partial piece, and nobody can really tell, because a lot of times where you always pick up that someone has a hairpiece on is in the front, because the front pretty much always looks the same. There's too much hair, and the way they cut it, it's always, you know, they seem to make them all the same way. Even the ones that now stand up straight or go back, you know, they always look a little bit artificial. But if you can get your own hair,
there's three giveaways. One giveaway is frontal hairline. In most cases, that has been pretty much solved. The second giveaway is the flip in the back.
In the back, absolutely.
And that back flip, and that's what I find interesting is I really think that hair pieces, especially in the back, if they are full pieces, should be made almost with separate, like hinged pieces. So instead of the hair just going straight down, they would kind of be hinged, and then it could be blended like, natural hair. Maybe I should invent that, or maybe now someone's going to invent it that I talked about it. But that would solve that problem. And the third major problem is temporal recession, or the temporal peak recession. If a guy is too recessed and then has his hairline too far forward, then basically the guy ends up looking like he's wearing a hair hat.
Yeah.
Three biggest giveaways. Besides, then there's a color differential, texture differential. There's so many nuances. But if you have the right partial system, like you do, and a good hairline, it will be completely undetectable.
Yeah, it's true.
I've warned them. I've tried it. I mean, there's no fucking way anybody would be able to fucking tell. There's no way. You have to know how to finesse it.
The problem with what you're talking about, Dante, and I agree, it can be a great approach. I've seen it done. I know patients that have had it done, but anyone that makes that commitment, in my opinion, they have to have already worn a system for many years, so they understand the maintenance issues and what goes along with it, and they have to really make sure that the hairline that they want to have surgically created is exactly what they want. And I say this because I recently dealt with a guy that had contacted me, young guy, wanted to do exactly that, and I asked him to reconsider because, number one, he had never really spent a lot of time with the hair system. He was currently wearing a hair system when he contacted me, but he wanted to have his own hairline and the system behind it. I told him it was a bad idea because I just didn't think it was a good idea. 8 months later, he's very unhappy with it, and it's because the hairline that he thought that he wanted, he doesn't want, and there's nothing he can do about it. So he's back to a full system. And I say this because I think that a lot of younger guys are thinking about this route now, because the information is out there. People think that hair systems don't have natural looking hairlines, and so they're trying to figure out this. That, a lot of these guys think they're the first person to ever think of this, and you're not. But they don't understand what's involved with it. And someone like you're in a better position to deal with that because you've been dealing with a hair system for quite a while. And
well, what happened? What was wrong with this person's hairline? How it came out that it was an issue?
I feel like he was prematurely judging it because at 7 months, he was saying it wasn't dense enough, and I agree. But it takes several more months from the 7-month point to really fill in. But he had other complaints, like he thought that the hair was a bit too unnatural looking because it was kind of kinky, kind of crumpled, which is also an early issue that can be resolved with time. I try to tell him that, but ultimately it was the height of the hairline. He said it makes him look like an old man, but unfortunately it's the hairline that he was talking about getting to begin with, and unfortunately he got what he wanted, and he didn't realize that that's not what he wanted. And it's sad. It's a sad story. I wish he'd listened to me, but a lot of young guys, I think, have considered this without actually considering what it really means. They just don't know. So your idea is great for people, in my opinion, that are used to having a system and are a bit more equipped to have a little bit less than natural density or native density, a higher hairline shape, things like that.
Well, the other thing about it, Joe, is that they've been in my hairline 7 times already. So it's been going on for 25 years, and then finally, when I realized this is the best I'm going to do, and I'm running out of hair, I had no other choice. So when the other issue with the young guys is, they get some hair transplants, but I've lost transplanted hair. I'm sure I have, or I've lost hair that was, because I was never completely bald, hair that was there that they went in between with the transplant. The natural hair went, and they had to go back in again, and on and on.
Yeah.
So this is going on for a long time. But
chasing your hair loss.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing my whole life. But no, but Spencer's exactly right. That flip in the back is a dead giveaway, and sometimes there's not even a what do you call it, the in the crown,
there's no whirl. Yeah, there's no.
They don't even have that.
Yeah, no skin, solid. Yeah.
Solid hair. I mean, it's impossible. There's very few people are like that. But it is an alternative. But it is a pain in the ass for me too, because I had to get like the airplane pillow. So if I sit up in bed or in a chair, watch TV, because if my head, I'm afraid to lay on the back of my head, because it's not a full piece, obviously. So if you put some pressure on it, you could. You're
gonna have a little yarmulke slide. It happens.
Yeah, actually, I get the slide after like 2.5 weeks. It starts to slide on one side, and then then I wait.
That's the official term for it.
Yeah, the yarmulke
slide. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely not without its issues, but I think for me it's way better than having a full system.
Every option has potential issues. There's a downside and an upside to all the options, and that's really what this program is all about. You're not going to hear about that in the marketing or in the flashy brochures. You're not going to see that on the Facebook ads. Like, if you go down, basically, I saw an ad for one of these machines in my Facebook feed, and it's like, what are you waiting for? A full head of hair is waiting for you. Call now. And then they show a picture of the device. And that's what the world is. And, they're not going to promote the downside. They're not. When you walk into the doctor's office, he's not going to sit you down like Joe or I would and say, look, first of all, think about what you could do with that $20,000. Get yourself a new car, buy an engagement ring for your girl. Well, that's not a good idea, but whatever.
I had a guy, I actually had that conversation with someone, and he kind of looked at me, and he had this confused look on his face. He's like, wait a minute, am I in the right place? Why are you telling me to spend my money elsewhere?
Down payment for like some small condo, get yourself a fucking boat. There's a lot of things you could do with that. Would you be happier with that or having, hair? No one's going to talk to them like that.
Less than a full head of hair.
Yeah.
Thin hair.
Right.
So
that's the thing.
There's a lot of doctors who are listening to the program because they listen to this broadcast every week, whether it's live or whether it's through the podcast. And the guys who support our message, who are part of the IHRS, they understand why I speak this way. The guys that don't, if you don't see them listed, there's a couple of reasons. One reason is, sadly, they're not good enough to be a part of what we do. But there's also the other guys who do not like the way that I speak the truth. And some of these guys are good doctors. They may be listed elsewhere. You may find them on other websites. But they don't support my message. And they don't, now that Joe's with me, they don't support our message. And that is surgery is a last resort. And that while we believe it can be extremely beneficial, there are limitations. That's it. And I'd rather talk some guy out of surgery and let him wait a year until he's fully ready.
But like we always say, though, you have to be prepared to do this twice, 3 times, maybe even 4 times, because to be really satisfied.
It really depends. It depends. A minimum of 2 times, in my view. That is the bare minimum. So, all right, Dante, listen, thanks for the call. Sorry about the yarmulke slide. I totally understand it. It's actually one of the reasons why I decided to paint. It was because of the yarmulke slide.
Yeah, it could be a pain in the ass, but I'm going to keep pushing forward.
You don't want to lay on your girlfriend's couch and all of a sudden it's like it's stuck to the couch. I'd rather have a little black there and just say my hair was dirty.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.
888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Oh, God, it's 622.
I'm reminded of that scene in Coming to America with Eddie Murphy with the Soul Glow. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Jerry juice, Jerry curl juice. I had a buddy in college.
Stuck the stains on the couch when the family would get up off the couch.
I had a buddy in college.
There's like four stains on the back of the couch.
Buddy in college, and he's actually on this broadcast. He lived in Los Angeles when I first got out here. I had him on the show for a while, and he didn't want to say who he was, so we called him Black Rich. And so Black Rich would leave Jerry curl juice wherever he fucking sat. I was like, dude, this is my college apartment. I'm like, what's with the fucking Jerry curl juice, man? Bring a towel. You're going to sit on my couch. Let's see who this is.
That's awesome.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? This is Chris from New Jersey.
Hey, Cliff. How are you?
Good, good. First-time caller. I've been actually listening to you, I think, since 99 or 2000.
Holy smokes.
You're kidding me. That's before Joe was born.
So I think it was actually, were you on 92.3 in New York or something like that? Or
I was on, actually 102.7. I was on, I was also on WLIR, which was 92.7 or 92.3, 92.7. That was a great station. That was a real, that was a game-changing Long Island rock and roll, new rock station that broke a lot of big artists. Where else in New York? I was on 77 ABC in New York. I was also on WOR in New York.
Yeah, no, I remember. I remember driving back. I was probably like 18 at the time. Driving back was probably the middle of the night, and hearing it. So
it was
anyway, yeah.
11 p.m. on the weekends, dude. Yeah, it's fucking old. I'm fucking old. So what's up?
Not too much. I just wanted to call in. So right now, I've been on Propecia since 2004. So about 14 years, 13 and a half, 14 years. So, and it's starting to kind of wane, it's starting to kind of, the effectiveness isn't as much. The good thing about me is I was kind of hypersensitive to it, just kind of seeing about my dad, my grandfather.
Now, is that why you were listening to my show when you were 18?
Well, yeah, it was yeah. It's actually a funny story. I remember it's just like being at lunch with my friends, and he was just like, dude, you're losing your hair. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I looked. Yeah. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like they pointed it out first, and I was like, oh, man. And then I just remember going home, and then you go through the whole thing. You go through the doctor, dermatologist. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not eating right. Maybe I've been stressed. Maybe I'm whatever. And dermatologist being like, well, if it's changing, then that's it, And luckily for me, it was kind of unlucky and lucky at the same time, because it made me aware of it early on, and I kind of went through, a lot of, I'd probably the same thing hundreds of other people did. Everything from calling the number on the shampoo to, to going to, Bosley and being like, what can I do? And thank God they said, don't do anything. Because at 18, 19, I probably would have done whatever they asked me to do.
Sure.
Right. And,
and then
just kind of hang.
When you found the show, you're like, what the fuck is this? Is a show on balding?
Yeah,
everyone shut up. Everyone shut up. They're talking about hair loss. What?
Yeah, that's basically it. Because, back in the day, it was like, it was like the stone age of everything. You couldn't find, everything wasn't just a Google search away. So it was like, I remember driving back from I used to stay at my girlfriend's house till late, and then drive back at night. I turned on the radio, and I think maybe it was 102.7 because it was music during the day, and then it kind of had some stuff, talk at night, and I just turned it on until 2, 3 in the morning, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, they actually. I was on at 11 till 1, and then they did a replay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was so long ago, I forget the actual time, but yeah. That was basically it. And then, then spent some time on the forums, and quite honestly, just kind of, depending on my mood, just kind of faded in and out of, mostly as I didn't really participate because a lot of that stuff gets, it gets a little weird, and I just was more looking for information than kind of getting into debates and fights.
Fucking ugly place, man. It is an ugly place. It's actually, it's actually manufactured to be ugly. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, because it's only a lot of people are just in, like, I only visit when I was like feeling crappy, so no one ever is just like, hey, checking in, everything's working,
Yeah.
the meds are great. When the meds are great,
I'm really happy with my life, so I'm going to spend some time on a hair loss message forum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I recognized. So I took everything. Luckily, I kind of took everything with a grain of salt, and fortunately, unfortunately, I mean, like I said, it happened early, got on it early. For the most part, if you looked at me, I'm maintaining, but I definitely, like, if you drew a line in the middle of my, it's the frontal that's kind of thinning out, but it's luckily for me, I'm 39, so it's not crazy, Essentially, everyone who told me I was losing my hair at 18 has less hair than I have.
Of course. Now they're looking at you like you're Adonis. Dude, let me tell you something. It's purely by attrition that I'm winning in this world, because I'm not saying that I look bad before, but now that I'm in my 50s, I do notice, and Joe probably notices as well.
I don't say anything.
Yeah, but when we're out with our contemporaries, the attention is on us because we have somehow managed to stay relatively thin and have hair on our heads. That's it. It's a game changer for people.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. It's a marathon, not a race, and so you're just I'm moving at the same pace. So the head of hair that was like embarrassing at 18 is like it's like envied at 40.
It's
absolutely
perfectly said.
Yeah,
it's the envy of all your friends 20 years later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I mean, my big question now is that it's kind of like do I being on 1 milligram for 14, and I know you guys aren't a doctor, so I'm obviously well aware of that, but I'm sure you want to say it as well. But like, I mean, in your experience, I mean, is stepping it up, from 1 milligram to 2.5, is that seen some benefit, or is that like? And again, I'll be happy just maintaining.
I got to tell you, anecdotally, and again, like you said just now, I have to state clearly and preface these statements by saying that we are not physicians. I am not a doctor, and this show does not provide medical advice. However, based on well over 20 years experience in the field, and thousands of people who have contacted us through all of my resources, including this radio broadcast, there's no doubt that there seems to be a true dose dependence when it comes to the use of finasteride, meaning there are those who have not done well on 1 milligram, who've upped their dosage, at least anecdotally, and then all of a sudden they're doing well. There are those who believe they are losing ground after several years on the same dosage, who up their dosage and then begin to maintain or even reverse some of the later miniaturization. And there are also those who have had adverse side effects who decide to then lower their dosage, and then they no longer have the adverse side effects while maintaining the benefits of the drug. So the question is it dose dependent? In my view, based on all of the anecdotal data, I would have to assess and say, yeah, in my view, it is, for sure.
And I think that, I've got a case that sticks out in my mind when you ask that question, or when we're talking about this. A guy that I used to know quite well, actually, we became friends. He came to me about his hair loss and was kind of struck up a friendship. But he had been taking 5 milligrams of Proscar for at least 10 years, and then this whole issue of, do I need to keep taking that, or can I cut back to the recommended 1 milligram? That question was asked, and the answer given was, sure, it's not dose dependent, so go ahead. And he, like, his scalp became a wasteland. Like, he didn't have a full head of hair to begin with, but I mean, he certainly wasn't bald. He wasn't even in need of surgery at this time. That's how much hair he had, and he went from 5 to 1 milligrams, and in a year, not only did he need a hair transplant, he was advised to get onto a full, I think it was a 2.5 at the time. I don't know what the dosage is now. He was advised to go to Avodart, dutasteride, 2.5 mg. on a daily basis, and that helped to bring it back. But he did wind up having surgery because of that mistake in assuming that it was not dose dependent.
So I would say that you can talk to your doctor about it and see if he or she is willing to prescribe you more, or get a 5 milligram dosage and maybe take a milligram and a half, or 2.5 milligrams. I would probably start with as low, incrementally low dosing as possible as far as your up dosing, and see how you do. And again, that's just an anecdotal, non-medical suggestion. Talk to your doctor about it.
Of course. Yeah, I think it's, the way I thought of it, and, it's hard to find some really good information online, is that, that it's just like antibiotics or whatever, you just get used to, your body gets used to it, it's kind of the new normal, and then, something could spike it. But I wasn't sure if the move was, to increase, the Propecia, or to go to like an Avodart or whatever, or like in your opinion, again, like from your experience, like would you say it's from 1 milligram to like 2, or would you and then is Avodart like the last line of defense, or are you like?
In my view, Avodart is your last line of attack.
Yeah.
It's because you want. It's essentially like what I find very interesting about medicine and about just you go to the doctor for a urinary tract infection, and they will prescribe you Cipro, which is basically what they use for anthrax. And this shit can cause so many tendon tears, all kinds of crazy stuff, when all they have to do is give you like amoxicillin or something in that, in a family of antibiotics that has a lot less potential of side effects. Yeah. It's the same type of thing. There are some doctors who will put you right on dutasteride, depending on where you are in the progression of your hair loss. I just think that's really your last line of defense. And there's no reason why you shouldn't talk to your doctor about trying. You're fucking up the whole show, dude.
I know.
No, but there's no reason to think that upping your dosage, it just seems logical to up the drug that you're currently on. You're not suffering any adverse side effects.
Right.
You've been on it for a long period of time, and you'll be able to tell relatively quickly, within a few months, whether or not things are working for you. And there's also less of a chance, in my view, just based on all the data that I've seen, anecdotal data, that you're going to go through an effluvium by upping the dosage of the same drug as opposed to switching right over to dutasteride.
Right. Right. Yeah. I would agree with that. And my question, you said you're taking 1 milligram now. I think you said that. Are you taking that daily?
Yeah. So I actually, when I started in 2004, I actually started with a quarter pill, then I went to half pill. Actually, I slowly kind of worked my way up, like over like a couple of months to 1 milligram. And then I stayed on 1 milligram. So I maybe worked my way up for about like 3 months. And then from there, I've been taking 1 milligram daily. If I missed 6 pills in 14 years, that would be a lot. I took it religiously. The only downside I had in 14 years, to be honest with you, was when I moved to generic, which I felt like I lost ground, and quite honestly, I just feel like I've been like, I don't know if like sometimes. In certain cases when they say antibiotics, you should, like, I almost wonder, and I have no basis, this is like pure speculation on my part, is if the generic, going on it and I lost some ground, that going back to the brand name, like I had some sort of like resistance to it or something like that, that like, because I still feel like,
Yeah, let me ask you something. It's sorry to interrupt, but you said something really. I don't know if you saw my reaction, but you were talking about switching to generic, and you said that you think you lost ground. Yeah. Did you come to that decision on your own, or had you heard Spencer and I talking about this on the show in the past?
So I heard you talk about it, but I heard you talk about it after I realized it on my own. So
okay, because, all right. See, I'm asking because I've had people tell me and tell Spencer in the past that we're full of shit when we say this, and I I talk to people all the time now that have had a similar experience, either in both directions, actually. And so for you to say that, like, this is your first time caller, we've never spoken before. I just think that's powerful, and I think it speaks to the importance of people considering this issue. And I was actually going to tell you that I think that if you're taking 1 milligram a day, a great way to potentially up your dosage in a small amount is to switch to the name brand ProScar, which is 5 milligrams. You quarter that tablet, you're at 1.25, which is a small increase in the dosage, and try that. And you're saving money in the long term because it's going to be much cheaper because you're dividing the pill.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah. No, I literally, I mean, I just bought my 90-day dosage like literally 10 minutes ago, and they handed me the generic, and I gave it back. I was like, and they're like, come back in 2 days. But yeah, I mean, that's just my individual assessment. I've always been a good responder, and like I said, I mean, my father's at Norwood 6, my grandfather's Norwood 6, my brother, who's a couple, 2.5 years older, he's either close to or is a Norwood 6. So I mean, I'm fighting some fairly strong genetics, and
let me tell you, one of my biggest fears, besides getting my head caught in a revolving door, and that's a whole other story, which I'll talk to you guys about one day, but is that Merck will stop making their brand name finasteride. Now, believe it or not, even after years of good sales, certain drug companies stop making the brand. That's just they stop making their own version of the drug that they spent millions of dollars testing and was on the market for a long time because
they exit that market.
Yeah, they decided to exit that market. Now, I know that finasteride will be available as a generic, but I always have that fear in the back of my mind, like, when is that other shoe going to drop, man? I've been holding on for this long.
Yep.
And I don't think I think it's unlikely that it will ever happen with ProScar. So I'm pretty, fingers crossed that's the case. I also hope it doesn't happen with Propecia. My concern is also all of the online vitriol and the mob mentality and the torches and the pitchforks and all the shit that's been going on with Propecia online, that Merck may eventually just say, you know what, fuck it, it's too much trouble right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at stuff, and you have a lot of these lawsuits, and I mean, it's a and you look at other companies that have withdrawn from clinical trials, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business. They don't care about who saves hair or loses hair or whatever. It's
I will tell you this: if there's any company out there, any attorneys out there, I'm sorry to say this, John, if you're listening, I know you're not one of these guys, but if they're advertising on television a class action lawsuit against a drug company, first of all, if you're going to sue anybody, you do it individually. You don't be a fucking idiot and join a class action lawsuit because you're not going to make any money. The only person the only guys that make the money are the fucking attorneys. Exactly. And the attorneys want the class action lawsuit so they can bring a huge action against the drug company or whoever they're suing, and that the settlement based on the number of people in the class action will be greater than individual settlements. That's why they do it. So you never join a class action lawsuit if you're going to sue in the first place. But the whole thing, when you see these things advertised, there's a reason for it. It's because the attorneys know how much money they're going to make, and they know that if they go against a big company, say like Merck or whomever, that eventually there may be a settlement, and that settlement can be in the tens of millions of dollars, and these attorneys are getting 30% of that.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Bottom line. If they didn't think there was money involved, they would not give a shit if your dick fell off. They would not take that case.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember a couple of years ago, Nizoral kind of was hard to find, and I don't know if they changed plants or whatever, but yeah, that was like a mini panic attack. So I can imagine, if Merck one day just said screw it and we're done.
See, when they took my hair, when I couldn't find my hair thickening shampoo in the drugstore, I had to take a Xanax.
I was like that with this tar-based dangerous shampoo that I was using that when I was having an issue with my scalp, keeping it in check, they stopped making it.
Yeah.
I flipped out.
Yeah.
I was calling the manufacturer and like going, working my way through the hierarchy, trying to get to someone I could speak to that knew what the hell's going on. And they said that the key ingredient in their shampoo, they didn't have access to it anymore. They lost some sort of contract where they were getting it.
Dude, my wife could leave me, take the animals, whatever it is. I want that shampoo. That's it.
Yeah.
And only you guys understand this. Only you guys who are listening. A guy who's been listening since the age of 18 when I was on WNEW radio, who's finally called in after all these years. I always think about that. I'm like, how many motherfuckers have listened to me over the years who've never called in? We have no idea what their lives are like. It's pretty amazing, actually, and surreal.
No, it's good. You're doing God's work.
I'm going to use that as a sound clip, dude. Well, listen, best of luck. Let us know what you decide to do. That would be the approach that I would take. What Joe suggested.
Yeah. Well, one last question. I mean, again, in your opinion, dermatologists and most of them. I mean, I got one that's good, but you know how it is. You make an appointment, and if they're good, they give you an appointment in 9 months. So. Is it the same as I was gonna probably see someone like Dr. Bernstein? I mean, they're just as good at they're not only doing hair transplants, right? I mean,
well, Dr. Bernstein is actually a board certified dermatologist,
right?
Okay.
So yeah, and I will tell you being good. There's such a misnomer, such a bullshit thought process. Being busy and being booked out does not mean that you're good. And that is just the way that it is. It's all marketing. It's all word of mouth. Before there was online marketing, basically a lot of doctors who became very well known they decided to take the initiative and become the biggest or the most published physicians in their field. Or they had the best networking where they got the most referrals from local doctors in the area. And then they kind of built a name for themselves. It's all marketing. Some of these guys are skilled, and some of these guys may be better than other guys, but there's always that poor schmuck that is a great doctor who just doesn't know how to market himself and doesn't know how to network, and maybe a little Asperger's-ish, and I can't pronounce that, and just not great with people. And he could be an incredible doctor, an incredible diagnostician, and someone that you'd really want to see. So just because someone is booked out means absolutely nothing. It's like seeing somebody with their arms folded on the cover of a magazine. Doesn't mean they're good at what they fucking do.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Even though I see Dr. Bernstein on every flight.
Well, but here, the truth is, and he would have no problem. He would have no problem with me saying this. These guys pay for that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, okay, would you like to be a top doc? Yes, I would. It's going to cost you $35,000.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be on the side, it'll cost you $10,000.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And you know what? And you're a top doc. Or when they are voted in by their peers, it's a whole wink, wink, nod, nod thing. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way that it is. I've been offered top doc positioning, and I'm not a fucking doctor.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm waiting for my opportunity. I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And you buy a table at the awards ceremony.
That's exactly it. And you get a ticket. Exactly. You hire a hooker, bring her to the. I was invited to go to Italy to accept I was being given the Michelangelo Award for my role in the scientific advancement of hair restoration. Yeah. I'm like, I'm 30 years old and I'm not a doctor. I just got into this field. What's going on? Just because my name was out there so much.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing's a sham. So, all I can tell you is you've been lucky enough to find the show. You were lucky enough to do your own due diligence. You did well on finasteride. I think you can probably continue to do well. And just if this helps at all, my response has kind of, waned and then have kind of bounced back over the years as well. So, meaning that I've lost some ground and then kind of just stopped. And I felt like I regrew some hair. And that's even without changing my dosage. And I've been on the drug for 25 years now, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just getting that. You know, you get that tingling that people talk about, which I also get. You know, and you worry and you wonder what aspect. You know, the problem with that with the drug is that every single side effect is also psychosomatic, right? You could have sexual side effects just by being depressed. You could have tingling. If I think about tingling, it'll, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's,
I know what you're saying.
It's very difficult to kind of assess.
I'm an OCD hypochondriac, dude. I know exactly what you're saying, and it is. I suffer in ways that I don't think most guys can possibly understand. Yet I had no problem taking this pill. So
that's, knowing how OCD Spencer is, that is saying a lot.
Yeah,
and I'm not even joking. I mean, it really is.
But the thing is, I'm also I'm OCD, but I'm also extremely logical. So that's the weird thing. Like, I understand the logic and how medicine works, and I understand the whole psychosomatic and all the issues that we can cause ourselves. Yet I have to touch things on 7 different sides 5 times before I can leave the house. That I don't understand. But anyway, man, listen, we're going to take one more call before we call it a night. I'm glad you finally called in after 19 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Don't make it 19 years more. Call back soon.
Call back. Let us know what you do.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
888-659-3727. I always love hearing guys who used to listen to me when I was young.
When you were starting out, yeah.
But I think about how young I was doing this thing that no one had done before. And not to pat myself in the back, but to try to explain myself, especially to girls at that stage in my life.
You're like, what, 32?
It was bizarre.
Then? I was in 99?
In 99, I was 32, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was, I sold the book at 29. It was published when I was 30. Right? So I got on the radio. I was almost 31.
Yeah.
So I was 32.
Okay. There you go.
Crazy, man. All right. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
Hello.
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 Hey, it's Baz from Ontario, Canada. How you doing?
Holy shit, Baz. How are you, man?
Good. It's been a long time.
Yeah. How you doing? How's
Good to hear from you.
I know that you kind of decided to beat it by shaving your head, right?
Oh yeah, I've been shaving my head for a while now, like 2-3 years now. No, 3 years. Been shaving my head.
And that's fucking great. But you're still watching the Bald Show. What's up?
Bro, I love your show. It's awesome.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
I wanted to start off by saying, like, thank you so much for, like, coming back strong. Like, I feel like you guys for a while towards like December or January were kind of like laying low or whatever, which is fine. And I think I watched one time and you guys were saying like, no one's calling. Like, if you guys don't call, we're not going to do the live show. And I was like, no, man, you can't do that. So I called just to say what's up. And like, I just want to say thanks for coming back strong. It's awesome to hear you guys are doing really well with everything. I feel like everything's gotten even more fucked up than when I was first researching. There's so much more like nonsense out there. So, like, we definitely need you guys more than ever. So I'm really happy to see that you guys are doing the weekly show again. A lot of people are calling in. So, like, that's awesome. Good to see that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. You know what? I would say that, and I was told this today by somebody actually in the industry, that it appears that Joe put some fire under my ass to kind of get myself back into gear. I was really considering retiring in the next year or two. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be 53 years old. I don't know if I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life. I'm in a position where I can kind of either move on to something else or maybe do nothing and just hang out on the beach and get drunk. And, which still sounds pretty good, actually. I'm still thinking about that. But, Joe really pointed out a lot of stuff that was happening that I was kind of unaware of because I was becoming, I'm not going to say aloof. I wasn't aloof but I was becoming a little disconnected because I wasn't as, I just wasn't as excited about things. So he pointed a lot of stuff out. He made some suggestions. He said that we need to come out this strong again, The YouTube world is really destroying the field, and we need to get out there on YouTube and do our thing. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot, and boom. I mean, the phones are off the hook. People are writing, thousands of emails that I can't handle at this point through all of our resources. Joe has had to actually stop people from or change his terms of service or however he does his work. Explain that. What
well, just so many people contact me with basic questions. I can't answer these simple questions anymore because they wind up taking up a lot of time. So the situation is, if you want to engage with me to get my honest opinion about your situation,
call the show.
Yeah. And if it's something that's personal where you are hoping that I'll engage with you behind the scenes, you have to meet me halfway and send me your fucking photos. I can't sit here and talk about, I can't speculate on what a doctor told someone without knowing what the hell I'm looking, what they're looking at. Right. So it's challenging. It's challenging to field all of these emails where people are, I wish I could help everyone, but I think there needs to be, I would hope that people that they're reaching out to me would put a little more effort into, trying to work with me, trying to get my input by sending me some photos.
We are considering doing 2 broadcasts a week, 2 live broadcasts a week.
Oh, wow.
I just don't know. I mean, I kind of may want to have like a floating day. I don't know how you feel about that, Joe, where it could be like impromptu, like one.
Well, I like that because, we're both busy anyway. But the thing is that when people are subscribing and they're clicking on I think now you have to not just subscribe, but you got to click on a bell that's next to the subscribe button.
Yeah.
You get notified. Like when we're live, you get notified. So it doesn't matter what day of what time of the day or which day of the week. If we're on, everyone knows about it.
Oh, and guys, don't forget to subscribe to Hair Transplant Podcast. We're going to have a lot of good content. Still waiting for Joe to put some more up, but it's ready. It's sitting there waiting for Joe to put some up. But we're doing a lot of undercover stuff now, where I'm having undercover techs and undercover docs provide really the truth from the trenches of what's happening in the field, which is kind of a unique perspective. It's not just 2 guys giving you guys our perspective, which is really, we have the inside track as well. But it's interesting to hear a tech's perspective and how fucked up things are in certain clinics.
Whoa. That sounds incredible. I can't wait for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, check out.
I think there's one up now. If you go to YouTube and type in Hair Transplant Podcast, you'll see the channel. And I think I got one up last week. That's I know I did actually. It's the clip about the tech revealing some of the inside information about how some of these clinics are operating.
Was it a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, it was incredible to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. We're going to do a lot of good work this year. I'm excited about it. And, that's the thing. I have to be excited about something at this stage of my life to be willing to put the work into it. And just by hearing your call and the fact that you're not even dealing with hair loss anymore because you shaved your head, but you are enjoying the show and enjoying what we're doing, that feels good. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate everything you guys have done, So I've been taking finasteride since, I think 26 years old. I'm now 28. So it's been a solid 2 years. And I've done well on the drug. It's totally stopped my hair loss. And the one thing I wanted to point out is that, in the past year or so, I've been through a lot of stuff in my own personal life. And I broke up with my girlfriend. And I was unhappy with a lot of stuff. And life, there's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs, and you go through waves of things, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I totally, right now in my life, or at least a few months ago, could feel like I was experiencing some kind of a side effect from the drug and saying that, I feel depression because of the finasteride. And it's like, it would totally be in my head. And I absolutely know that it's because I've felt like this before. I've had stuff like that in life. I'm going to feel like this in the future. Sometimes you go up and down, right?
That's right.
And a lot of times we're just quick to blame something, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times in life where people could totally benefit from the drug are going to psych themselves out, just like I did before I took the drug. Like, I called in when I was 24 years old, and I wanted to take the drug, and I didn't because I read a bunch of stuff online and fear-mongering and all this nonsense, and I psyched myself out of it, right? Whereas had I just taken it to begin with, I totally could have benefited from it. So I'm another one of those cases where, like, I should have just taken it earlier. But anyways, I don't regret anything. I'm happy with where I'm at.
Well,
But, that's what matters.
And that's what matters. But I do agree with you, and I think it's so unfortunate for so many of these young guys who really, especially the guys who are really suffering and end up jumping into surgery without getting on medication. They're just so afraid to take the medication based on really what is completely anecdotal data. There's no clinical data out there. There's been no clinical data. I mean, Merck has to make these reports and put stuff on labels if enough people decide to pick up the phone and complain about potential or side effects while the drug is in use, meaning after it was clinically tested. That's it.
Like, obviously, there's people who do have real side effects, and, you know, we can't deny that.
No, absolutely.
But, you know, whatever you're feeling, like, dude, you go to the gym 3 days in a row, tell me you don't feel fucking amazing after that. You know, like,
100%.
Of course.
Right? Like, it's not this thing that everyone makes it out to be, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to point that out because I feel like a lot of people can fall into that trap and then, you know, freak out and stop taking the drug where, like, dude, it has nothing to do with that. Like, you're just reading into things a little too far, right?
Dude, I knew a guy who was in his almost 60 years old. He stopped, and this is a guy in the hair business. He stopped taking the drug based on this particular website and all the stuff that he read on his website. And now he's trying to get back on it because he regrets it. He had no side effects. He was on it for like 15 years.
Wow.
And he lost so much fucking hair. And he's thinking to himself, why did I listen? Why did I, you know, he didn't realize that. I mean, I don't know if they think that they're immune to it, that the drug has stopped working over all these years. And like all of a sudden, you know, people hear impotence, it freaks them out. I get it. I totally get it. But I will tell you this, that if at some point I start to have sexual issues, I'm going to realize intellectually that I'm 53 years old. And that's probably why these things are occurring. Not that I've been on, all of a sudden, finasteride started to kick in that side effect after 25 years.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the science behind it, like, it would have affected you right to begin with, right? Like,
that's why I look at it.
You know,
That's the way I look at it,
the
too.
subset of people, right? There's those few anomalies, but then there's those few people that are, a lot of stuff can happen, right?
There's the women that get blood clots from birth control and they drop dead. That's fucked up, you know? That's very real.
I read side effects on a video I made just on I forgot what it's just I think it was a powerful over the counter, just regular aspirin. I think it was extra strength aspirin, and I was going down the side effects and I couldn't believe the side effects I was reading on this thing. It was like, what the hell is this? But I'm reading it and it's like, you know, this is just painkiller. Pain reliever.
I always say this, that if aspirin was going through FDA approval today, it may be approved, but if it was approved, the Twitter mob would be out, and there would be like an anti-aspirin campaign like you could never fucking imagine.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? So listen, Boz, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much for the kind words. We're going to call it a night. Keep listening.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you're doing well. And yes, we're going to be working a lot harder this year to get real information out to the public. There's a lot of popular YouTubers who I'm glad for them that they're getting traffic, and I'm glad for them that they're making money off of the YouTube pages. And, you know, God knows that I am a capitalist and an entrepreneur. But I really think that, in my view, it's real information that should be getting the most visibility. And that's what we're going to...
Sometimes they go off on a tangent and they give you false hope about something that's like, bro, that may or may not come 30 years from now. Like, why even mention it? And I feel like those videos are kind of nonsense. Like, yeah.
Well, those fall in line with, you know, the threads that you know, Spencer had to take off of the Bald Truth, where, you know, these guys are talking about future treatments, and it was like they were getting in arguments and getting personal and getting ugly and you know, unnecessarily, you know, insulting each other, and it became a contest of who could get the gotcha phrase first, right? It's look, I understand the need to talk about this stuff, or the desire that a lot of these guys have, but the way I've looked at it from the very beginning, like even before I had my repair surgery, I was never really into this because everything I was reading was indicating that we're not even close, or it was always the 5 years down the road. I was always wondering, well, what the hell's available to me now? I want to know what's out there now. It's like I can't sit here and be bald hoping for something that doesn't exist yet. And I've maintained that ever since I can remember, first really dealing with this. And it segues into this thing about Brotzu Lotion, which is one of the chat guys. He goes by Blah Comments. That's his chat handle. Thank you very much for the email. He sent me a copy of the this Brotzu Lotion presentation that was from last weekend. I think it was I think it was on the 14th. Yeah, translated into English. Thank you very much for that. I actually know the guy that interviewed Dr. Brotzu. I think it was maybe several months ago. He runs that forum in Italy where he did the interview. So I was aware of some of this stuff. But looking through that presentation, it kind of reinforces what my friend that had actually been in the presentation was saying, that it's kind of unreliable. There's not a whole lot of solid information in that presentation, but it goes back to what I was just talking about before that. Where's the result now? And looking at those photos, there is minimal improvement in those before and afters, which were just kind of hard to really figure out. And I understand that there was some confusion, or supposedly some confusion, where like the 6 month was swapped out with the 3 month, and they're backward. To me, it doesn't matter because I still don't see really much of a difference. Now, there was another set of photos that someone brought to my attention, and this is just, to me, it's just more of the craziness, where some guy was reading about this Brotzu Lotion, decided to make his own version based on what he could glean from the information that was already public, and posted his images that supposedly show this great result. And I'm looking at these photos, or I think it's one set of before and afters. And Blah Comments, you can correct me, but I think there's just one set of before and after this guy submitted. It's on Reddit, and the after photo is full of concealer. It blows my mind. It's powdery. Like how can anyone not see that? It's powdery. It looks chalky. It's plain as day. So I got off on a tangent there, but I wanted to address the Brotzu thing for Blah Comments. He when I was waiting to send that to me, and again I thank you for that. But that's why I look at this stuff. It's
by the way, it's never ending. It's never ending. It's not going to end. Yeah. And when it does end, I promise you,
we're cashing out. We're done.
Well, besides that, we're going to know, and I will get a phone call, and I know that sounds, to some of you guys, that sounds obnoxious. Like, oh, yeah, someone's going to call Kobren. They will.
They will.
And it's going to be an embargoed information, which I'm not going to be able to post or talk about. But as soon as it's in the mainstream media, then I'll be able to talk about it. You're not going to find it on message forums. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So you can
I don't think it's ever coming.
Well,
I don't think it's coming.
It may or may not, but here's the thing.
I'm going to listen to you guys to the rest of the time, and we're going to keep going through this. We're going to have Rogaine, we're going to have Propecia. The company's making a lot of money. Even if someone comes with an answer, they're not going to give it to us. Like I'm definitely not waiting for it at all. And anyone who is, you're just wasting your time. Live your life. You got the two things you have now. Shave your damn head. Figure it out. Go to the gym. Work out. Don't waste your time. If it comes, great. Spencer will tell us. Joe will tell us. If not, just do what you have now and move on, man. That's the only way to look at it, or else you're wasting your time.
On that note,
that's a great attitude to have.
Great attitude, and we're going to call it a night because we are 6 minutes after the hour. I do have to go. Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say great attitude, and I do think that there's something coming, and I think there'll be something coming in the next few years. But even once it gets here, it's still got to go through, trials and proving its efficacy, and it's still a long process.
It's
But something
take
is
time.
coming.
Yeah. I mean, we will probably be doing the show and wearing hair at that point, but whatever. All right, guys. Boz, listen, always a pleasure. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, take care. Guys, we were going to call it a night. Great show, busy show. And let me give out Joe's website, which is hairtransplantmentor.com. He's the original hair transplant mentor. And guy's been through a lot from hell and back. And he's looking better than ever. He is in a position to really provide you guys with a unique perspective, and that's why he's part of the broadcast. Also, our websites, thebaldtruth.com for archives of this show. Joe Tillman's YouTube channel, which is, Joe, don't do the slash thing. It's just, if they look up Joe Tillman.
Hair Transplant Mentor.
That's it, Hair Transplant Mentor. And also, please subscribe to Hair Transplant Podcast. It's brand new, but there's going to be a lot of great clips on there. We are not doing a live broadcast on that channel, but we're going to be putting a lot of segments that may or may not be in a live broadcast, and also stuff that I'm kind of doing and Joe will be doing as kind of like extra stuff. So subscribe, support the site. We're not asking, obviously, for any financial support. Yet. I don't know.
Yet.
I always like to put that out there. You never know.
You never know.
The American Hair Loss Association, that's AmericanHairLoss.org. If you are considering surgical hair restoration, obviously the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, understand that, it's not just a list of doctors who do good work. Those who are part of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, they pay in part their membership dues to support our message, to support this thing that we do every week, to get real information out to the public. And they're not afraid of us telling the truth. That speaks volumes for their character. And yeah, they know they may lose some business, but they're still willing to support what we do. And I think that's something that you guys need to put into your equation when you choose a physician. Do they support the bald truth? Do they support truth in advertising? And are they good enough to make the grade to be part of the IHRS? Also, what else? Baldtruthtalk.com is our message forum. Check that out. Spend some time on there. Listen, love the traffic, but just realize that it's a message forum. We try to moderate it as tightly as possible, but there's still some bullshit that gets through. So take whatever you read on any message forum with a grain of salt. That includes mine. However, you want to interact with some great people, see some great before and after results from some of the best hair transplant surgeons in the world, check out baldtruthtalk.com. Guys, until next time. Oh, you know what? I always forget to do that. Joe, you do that.
I was going to say also thanks to Hair Loss Experiences for allowing us to embed our live stream on their forum. It is primarily a UK-based forum, so we've known the operator of that website. He goes by the handle Big Mac. Great guy, valuable resource, and thanks to them for letting us embed and stream live on their website as well. And
again, let me repeat that: a very, very valuable resource. As there are many valuable resources online, but we're talking about a normal human being running the site, someone who is cares about other human beings, who tries to do the right thing, who is unafraid of competition, or it's one for all and all for one. We're all in this together. That's the attitude that this cat has always had, and he's been doing this for a very long time. So for me, it's like I love promoting good people and people who are doing good work and helping other people. So yeah, Hair Loss Experiences is a great place, and he has a really, again, it's mainly a UK European, forum. Yeah. But there's a lot of great information to glean from there as well. So check it out, guys. Until next time, be strong. God bless. Thank you so much for listening, and I guess you'll be surprised with the impromptu show, because I'm sure we'll do one. Soon. I'm not going to say when, but soon. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that would be splendid. Thank you. Good night.